Well, good Monday morning to you. Welcome to our Monday morning live edition of the Doctor's Nutrition Show. I'm your host, Jim Tabor, along with Doctors Jim and Janine Fox of Doctor's Nutrition, located on Cal and Lorraine Road in Gulfport, just south of Pass Road. We do this every Monday morning. It is a live call-in show in which we talk about a particular topic and invite you to call in and ask any questions regarding that topic or any questions that you may have regarding your health, because that's what this show is all about, helping you live a healthier lifestyle. Our phone lines are 896-0713 or 800-349-0713. This morning, we're going to be talking about urinary tract problems, infections, and how they can, those of you that deal with them, they can affect your everyday life. You may avoid social settings. You may have a harder time getting tasks done. Some of the problems include infections, incontinence, and retention, just to name a few.
That's just to name a few.
Just to name a few. Just to name a few.
That's getting started.
So what are some of the signs of urinary tract problems?
You just mentioned them.
Basically. Well, good show this morning, everybody.
Yeah, it was a good show.
Now, signs are, some of the things that you start seeing is where you feel like you got to go to the bathroom constantly.
Yeah. Urgency,
frequency, not being able to hold it, and they can all be a little bit different things because, and then there's, one of the problems with the urinary tract is kidney stones, and that's just extreme pain when that hits. Yeah. So people usually know something's wrong at that point. Usually those are pretty bad.
It's funny that you mentioned that because this morning on YouTube or something, I was watching Bill Engvall, the comedian, talk about
that comedian.
That he had a kidney stone and how painful it was.
Oh, yeah.
And he likened it to women having giving birth.
Definitely, it is painful. And that is one thing that is very preventable in most people.
And it's something that we see on we do a lot of urinalysis on people. And we really do, because basically we kind of build it in as part of our panel. On every panel we do, right? Just about. Anyhow, we do a lot of urinalysis, look at those, and we see an awful lot of oxalates. And when you start seeing the oxalates in the urine, you've got a potential to build a stone. One of the bad ones, calcium oxalates, and those are the bad kidney stones, ones that cause you a lot of problems. And we talk to so many people and say, well, have you ever had a kidney stone? Well, no, I haven't. But anybody in your family had? Well, my great uncle so and so. I don't care if it's in the family. It's part of it. But something that can be prevented. Typically speaking, when we talk to that person, they don't drink a lot of water.
Yeah.
They'll admit it. Eventually they'll say, well,
the biggest cause is dehydration.
Yeah.
So the biggest cause to make kidney stones is dehydration.
Right.
And actually, even in some people with kidney stones, now it used to be thought years ago that, you can't eat anything with calcium, you can't take any calcium. That's actually, they're finding out not true in most cases. You can never say everything is 100%. But in a lot of cases, it's a lack of calcium, so the body's trying to pull calcium from places, and it makes stones. So that's another thing. But you got to, when you do lab work, you can look at the levels and look and see if it looks like you need calcium. And that's why we always recommend doing lab work, so you know exactly what you need to do for you. And stones can be different than the calcium oxalate is definitely the most common. But you can have uric acid stones, you can have other kind of stones.
Oh, yeah.
But on the calcium oxalate stones, prevention. Magnesium citrate, potassium citrate, and lots of water. And you can prevent probably 90% of kidney stones.
That potassium citrate is probably one that's totally underutilized.
It is.
And if you go back historically, a long time ago, medically, it was something that they actually used a lot.
Well, they still use it.
They still use it, but
there is a prescription that's potassium citrate for kidney stones.
But it's rare.
And but we don't see as many people on it.
No.
We do have a low dose potassium citrate. It's a lower dose than the prescription, but you can take. It depends on the person how many we tell them to take, because it depends on what your potassium level is in the system. So that is something that we look at, but you can actually prevent kidney stones. And like I said, water is, with any urinary tract problem, actually, you want lots of water.
Right.
Now, the only people that can't do the huge amounts of water is someone in kidney failure, because they can't get rid of the excess water. So when we're talking about drinking lots of water, if you have kidney failure, it's different. That's a complete different show. But otherwise, most people need to hydrate, and most people we see are dehydrated.
Right.
And there's levels on the lab work that show us that they're dehydrated. So we see that a lot. So dehydration causes a lot of urinary problems. You've got to flush. That's how your body gets rid of a lot of the poisons, is through the urinary tract.
course, it's probably very detrimental if you, for those that have a tendency to drink all these sports drinks.
Oh yeah.
Soft drinks.
Well, and carbonated drinks, that's not great for the urinary tract and problems, and Cokes and
the colas and stuff. You get a Well, tea's not too bad.
Tea can be depending on the thing. You can actually, that's not great for some of the stone problems. It depends on the person on tea. So that one's person to person.
Yeah.
As long as it's unsweetened. Around here, everybody drinks the most sweetened tea.
I'm one of those that don't.
Yeah.
I drink unsweet tea, but I'll put when I do my glass of tea, I'll put like 1 pack of stevia in it.
Yeah. You can do that.
And do
Yeah.
that.
Well, stevia, monk fruit, something like that. Yeah. It's real important to and we stress this all the time to people: drink water, drink water, drink water. You'd think it sounds, so simple, and it fixes so many problems, and it really does. But it's something that's totally, missed.
And what I hear so much on, especially people as they age, is, well, if I drink water, then I got to go to the bathroom more. And I tell them it doesn't matter. You need to make sure you go to the bathroom. I mean, it's actually it's good to flush.
That means things are working.
Yes, and you can actually do Kegel exercises. You can do exercises to tighten up the pelvic floor, things like that to help the urinary incontinence, which a lot of people get as they age. And the urinary incontinence, we do have something called Bladder Manager that does help that, and we have something called Pedidolex that helps that. So we do have things natural that you can do for the incontinence problem, but the problem is when you start looking at the urinary tract infections and how dangerous they can become. Urinary tract infections, people say, oh, it's just a UTI. No, it's not just a UTI. Some people actually die. Many people die from UTIs because they go septic. Exactly.
All right, got a question real quick. Does dairy irritate male prostate?
There's a lot of controversy about that, and one of the big things about it is any of the dairy that's got that recombinant bovine growth hormone. Then they say, okay, that's not really good for the prostate. Otherwise, like I say, there's still a lot of controversy about it, but I always just tell the guys if they got a prostate problem, probably better off to lay off of it.
Yeah, and if you are going to do it, make sure it's organic.
Organic only.
Because that is one thing that doesn't have that hormone that he was talking about, is if it's organic, it's not supposed to.
Okay. All right, 896-0713 or 800-349-0713. Our phone lines are open. Talking about urinary tract problems this morning. If you have a question, give us a call. It's 8 minutes after 9 o'clock. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. And welcome back. We're talking about urinary tract infections this morning. And how would someone know if they have a urinary tract infection?
A lot of times it starts out with that frequency that she was talking about, frequency and urgency. I mean, and it can be that simple. You
it
just
can
feel
be
like
burning, it can be having a little blood in your urine, and it can be absolutely nothing. Actually, we see UTIs so often that there is no symptoms. No symptoms. Because we do urinalysis on almost every panel. One of our smallest panels that we actually never order, but some other people come in and do it, doesn't have a UA, but everything else does. And we see so many urinary tract infections, and people say, well, I don't have any symptoms. And then after you give them, we use something called D-mannose in most cases. We do have something called Urinary Pro we add to it if it's worse. But people come back and was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize my symptom. I did have to pee a lot, but I didn't realize that it was an infection. And I have actually had older women, which is very common, to get UTIs and actually be septic, and they don't have any symptoms. I've had families bring in people and they said, well, they're falling and nobody can figure out what's wrong with them. And we do a UA and it's an infection. And so and those ones that go septic can kill you.
They can, and some of their symptoms are like she said, a lot of times, they're pretty severe and totally offbeat. I mean, it's not something you'd ever put together with the urinary tract. They're falling, they're doing this, they're doing that, they're having problems, and yet it's a urinary tract infection.
Yep. Can odor or even color, odor or color?
Discoloration.
Discoloration. Like if
it's
you go to the
discolored,
bathroom, it's bright orange or something like that.
If you start having a
or
discoloration or brownish or even
brownish, I would think there'd be blood, like blood.
Or,
possibly blood, right.
But the odor,
If it's real strong smelling, actually, on my little dogs, if they actually start having real strong urine, I give them D-mannose. They can't talk. They can't say anything. So, I mean, and it don't hurt you. The good thing is D-mannose is safe for a baby. I mean, you can give it to an infant. It does not hurt anything. It's a type of a sugar.
I was going to say, let's explain it.
Yeah, D-mannose is a type of a sugar that the body can't utilize like as a sugar. So it excretes it through the urinary tract. So the body says, we gotta get rid of this, we can't use it, and it excretes it. It then attracts bacteria, and bacteria cling onto it because the bacteria love D-mannose.
Go along for a free ride.
They go along and a free lunch.
And then basically it gets stuck and it gets flushed out. It's very simple.
It's a humane way of getting rid of bacteria. I said that to a lady one time. She's a really big tree hugger, I guess. And she thought, well, that's really nice, and I thought, okay, cool, we did something good, nice way of getting rid of the bacteria.
But D-mannose works in about 90% of the cases. It does not work in 10%. So you can't say, when we put somebody on it, you put somebody on D-mannose, you recheck the UA if it showed a problem, and as soon as the bottle's gone, which is about 7.5 days. And then see if it's gone. I always say, if you ever have a urinary tract infection, even if you take an antibiotic from your doctor, whatever you do, recheck the UA and see if it's gone. Because so many times you can knock it down, but if you don't knock it out, it's going to grow right back. And that's one of the problems we see is people having these chronic UTIs. Now, one of the peak groups that we see with chronic UTIs is your menopausal women. There is no doubt about it. Because of the vaginal mucosa getting, atrophied, and you have the mucosa around the urethra atrophying. I mean, everything kind of changes then.
Well, the whole urinary tract, the vaginal tract and the urinary tract is a big mucous membrane.
Right.
And mucus is loaded with white blood cells, so it's part of your immune system. And that's normally what protects the urinary tract from infections.
Yeah.
Now, when they go through menopause, they tend to lose some of that viability, and we start getting,
get more UTIs.
More UTIs and so on.
But we have something for that. We actually have a vaginal, it's an estrogen cream, but it's a very, 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 very weak bioidentical estrogen.
It's estriol.
It's estriol, which is your safest estrogen. It is your most beneficial estrogen. And we do see some really good results when women keep getting those infections. We'll start using that, and it definitely makes a difference.
Huge.
So there's things you can do preventatively, and like I said, tons of water, making sure you wipe properly, and you think people would know that, but we run into some people that don't, especially women. Of course, men don't have the biggest problem. Then definitely, after intercourse, make sure you go to the bathroom. Make sure you go urinate right afterwards. That is important as well. A lot of people will take just mannose and take that after intercourse because it actually does flush out. So you want to do things to prevent, and if you do have a problem, then there's other things you can do too. Now the cranberry, everybody hears cranberry. And cranberry is good to acidify the urine, and you don't want your urine too acid or too alkaline. You want it kind of right in between. I'd rather it on the hair of alkaline than acidic, but not too alkaline. So if you do have an alkaline urine, which we can tell from a urinalysis, then we use something like cranberry. Vitamin C can acidify. And if you actually are way too acidic, then you can use something like potassium citrate to alkalize. So you want to change. There's things you can change according to what's going on.
And the good thing about the cranberry, the low cranberry, poor little guy, he's also good for the heart.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize that, but some of the acids that are in that cranberry are actually very good for the heart as well.
And cranberry capsules are inexpensive.
Oh, cheap.
I mean, they are very inexpensive.
One
and
of the cheapest
so
things
I have a
we
lot
have.
of people just take cranberry capsules just because, just to kind of, they're good for you. It is.
They are good. They're good for the
is
heart,
good.
and at the same time for
And
the
the
urinary
problem
tract.
with everybody out there drinking the cranberry juice, they're drinking the wrong one. Most of them go get this cranberry cocktail, which is not cranberry juice. It might have a splash in it, but it's mostly sugar. You really want true, if you're going to do cranberry juice, you want real 100% cranberry juice, which is very tart. It is not sweet.
It has some pucker power.
It is. And you
promise
usually have to dilute it with a little bit of water because it's hard to drink sometimes. I like it, but like I said, you got to dilute it because it is pretty strong. So the cranberry cocktail out there is not doing what you think it's doing. It's just giving you a lot of sugar.
Yeah, and diluting it with vodka, no, that doesn't.
Well, that's another way to dilute it, though.
This is very important. That's true. Can poor diet contribute to urinary? I mean, normally we talk about drinking proper liquids, but what about just diet, things we eat?
Well, yeah, that changes a lot of the pH balance. You know, a lot of your pH balance is changed through the foods we eat. And so, yes, you can definitely have an issue with that. So, you know, and of course everybody talks about, you know, eating more fruits and vegetables, which God knows nobody does enough of. You know, they just don't eat enough vegetation. We don't. I mean, that's just part of life, you know, and they really don't. And that does help tremendously, and a variety of foods. You know, the big thing is, I talk to a lot of people and they're kind of stuck on a few items, and you want a variety of foods as well. You know, I mean, a lot of variety.
All right. Got a question here. We're going to take a break. We'll come back to your question in just a moment, as well as along with this week's special. 17 after 9 o'clock here on this Monday morning. We'll be right back. And welcome back to our final segment this morning. It's 19 minutes after 9 o'clock. Let's go ahead and look at what the special of the week is for this week.
Yeah, the 25% off on the D-Manos that we talked about. And we'll do a urinalysis this week for $5. Yep. I mean, that is the best $5 you can spend to find out exactly what's coming out of the urine.
So if you want to know if you do have, you know, the crystals in the urine to make kidney stones, or what your pH is, or do you have bacteria, then do a urinalysis. The one that we do that it's $5 this week has a microscopic exam with it, so it's even looked at under a microscope. So somebody's actually looking at it, not just a dipstick. So it's not a dipstick urinalysis, a little bit one step past that. So that's a good thing, and you can kind of see what's going on. But we really do find a lot of UTIs. We really, really, really do.
Like I say, even in those who don't think they have a problem.
Exactly. Okay. And like I said, they can actually affect your health. I have seen in the past, we started putting UAs with every one of our panels years ago when we had somebody that they had been bedridden for 3 years with high blood pressure where it would not come down with multiple medications, and they couldn't even function. And we did a full panel on them, and it was the only panel that had the UA at that time, and it was the biggest panel we had, and it showed a urinary tract infection. We didn't think that was what was causing her problem, but of course we gave her the D-Manos. Every one of her problems went away, and she'd been bedridden for 3 years. Wow. So it sometimes can make now most people are not that extreme, but it can. So that's something very simple that you can check. And D-Manos is very safe to take and try to see if it helps. Now, in some cases it doesn't. If it doesn't, then we usually will refer people to their doctors to go, you know, get something else.
Right. Okay. Question from a viewer: does taking cranberry supplements help with UTIs?
We just talked about it just a minute ago. I mean, if somebody actually has a UTI, it's not the first thing I will use. It's better for prevention. I like the D-Manos better if you actually have a problem.
Right. But it is good preventatively. Yeah.
And the D-Manos is a powder, and you mix it with a little bit of water and drink it. So it's pretty easy to do. And it doesn't taste bad, which everybody says, what does it taste like? Yeah. It does not taste bad. It's got a kind of strange sweet taste, but it's not sweet.
No, I mean, you barely notice the sweet taste at all. Matter of fact, people that eat a lot of sugar tell you it's not sweet. But if you don't eat a lot of sugar and you're not real sensitive, if you're very sensitive to it, you'll taste just a bare hint of sweet. It's kind of weird. But that's it. So it's real easy to take. Like I say, safe from babies right on up to.
And another thing I just wanted to mention, because it is another thing important. We've talked a lot about women, but in men, if you have an enlarged prostate, because we had the viewer even call about a prostate, it can make severe problems too, because it can reflux that urine back into the kidneys, and then you can actually start having big kidney problems. And so that's another issue. If you have an enlarged prostate, taking something for prevention for prostate, we do have something called Prostate Max that works real good, and prostate support. But you do want to do something to keep that prostate from swelling, which is a common problem in all men over 50. So I would say once men hit a certain age, they're probably going to get some prostate enlargement, and that enlargement, the ureter goes straight through it. So if it squeezes down on it, you don't eliminate properly.
You get retention where you don't empty the bladder like you should, and that starts causing problems.
So prostate can cause some pretty severe problems
with
the urinary tract as well.
Over the years, we've actually seen it cause some pretty bad kidney damage in some guys who
irreversible damage.
Irreversible. They really didn't know that they had a problem per se, or it wasn't treated effectively or properly, and it really caused long-term kidney damage that they still have to live with.
And
so,
prostate infections are also an issue. If I see a man with a really bad UTI, I'll always check, because the PSA will go way up in a prostate infection.
Yeah.
So we'll always check that to make sure it's not a prostate infection instead of a urinary tract infection.
Yeah.
So men are a little different. We don't see as many urinary tract infections in men as we do in women, but we see them daily in women. Women, it is just so common. And so that's why you want to do a lot of stuff for prevention.
Yeah, which one of the major things we talked about was drinking a lot of
Yeah.
water. I mean, what is the average you're supposed to drink every day?
I always say at least half your body weight in ounces, at least, and
Yeah.
usually a little bit more than that. So
Okay.
Keep it simple. If you weigh 150 pounds, 75 ounces of water.
yeah, just half your body weight in
I have to
ounces
drink
is a
95
simple.
I have to drink 95 ounces of water.
Okay, so you got to drink a lot.
Yeah.
And you really do. You know,
I drink way more, and I mean,
Yeah.
but you know, some people do.
Do you have to make an appointment for the $5 urinalysis, or could you just walk in?
Just walk in
before 2 o'clock.
before. Yes, you got to be there before 2 because they pick it up, and urine cannot be a day old
No.
to test because you don't want it growing stuff because it's old. So you just have to be there before 2 o'clock, and in between 10 and 2, if you're just to walk in to do a urinalysis.
Yeah, not a problem.
Might have to
Yep.
wait a few minutes, especially with this special going on.
Yep.
Yeah,
Have them lined out
Yeah.
the door holding a little cup.
yeah. Everybody standing around with their little cups. Right.
Waiting to go in to get that taken care of. So again, there's just so many things that you know, if you haven't constantly having to go to the bathroom,
Right.
Any of those signs like the
Burning. I mean,
Burning,
the
yeah.
burning's another one people see, and they're pretty bad at that point.
Yeah.
Really, when you start having the symptoms, and when you start having fever, it's usually into
Really
the
bad.
It's usually into the kidneys at that
Yeah.
point. So that usually, if somebody comes in and they have fever, we don't even try the D-Manos because if it doesn't work, we don't want to. We don't want somebody to go longer. So we usually will refer them to their doctor at that point.
Right.
So it just depends on the severity.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, well, there's you know, so many different things that you need to do. And of course, they said the older that we get, the more of an opportunity that we have to get them.
Yes. Well, although little girls tend to have them too from wiping wrong. That's
Yeah.
what you do find, little girls.
Front to back.
Yep, exactly. So you do see that in little, and it's so safe for little kids too, that D-Manos. Like I said, it's safe for little dogs, it's safe for kids, it's safe for...
Well, I don't have a problem with mine doing that yet, any strong smell, but
If I would let mine use a pee pad, so if I smell it stronger, I'm like, oh, y'all are getting mad. They love it. I just put it in my hand, they lick it off.
do they really?
They love
Oh yeah,
it. They love it.
It's a treat. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and I have noticed sometimes,
It's not
every
gonna
now
hurt
and then, and mine will, if I'm gone during the day,
Yeah.
quite a bit, which I normally am, they'll use a pee pad.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's pretty bright yellow.
That just means they're not drinking enough water. Sometimes the color being bright yellow is just it's concentrated. That doesn't always mean infection.
Okay.
Right.
Weird colors other than yellow are the ones that you got to really worry about.
Yeah, but there's a lot of, you know, you mentioned blood, and if you
the
can
smell
actually
is-
see the dark colored urine,
Yeah.
you got a lot of blood.
But the smell, our nurse, when she's taking it out of the cup to put it in the thing to send to the lab, she'll come and say, this person has a UTI, you'll be calling them tomorrow. She can smell it. She's like,
She's good about that,
This
huh?
one,
Yeah.
she knows when it's there, yeah.
when
she
you've
does.
done thousands and thousands of
You
them.
did a bunch of them,
sure,
you
I'm
know,
sure.
you
Okay.
know what it's going to be like.
Yep.
What are we talking about next week?
We are going to be talking about how to keep your muscles from wasting as you're getting older.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. That'll be next week here on our Monday morning live edition of the Doctor's Nutrition Show. Hope you learned something today. Maybe we'll see you in line at the doctor's office there on Callan Lorraine Road in Gulfport, just south of Pass Road. Have yourself a wonderful week, and we'll see you next Monday morning on another edition of the Doctor's Nutrition Show.
For more information on highlighting your business and services on Healthy Living South Mississippi, contact Jim Tabor at 896-1313.